This is a Super 8 home movie camera. It's my Minolta XL250 that I did a teardown on in a previous video. This is a single 8 home movie camera. It's the competing format to Super 8 made by Fuji. You can still buy Super 8 films, but you can't buy single 8 films. It's my mission to resurrect the entire single 8 format by producing refillable single 8 cartridges. Hi, my name's Jenny List, and welcome to another exciting episode of What's on Jenny's Bench. So here's an Agfa Super 8 cartridge. Inside it has two reels. I think the reel of unexposed film is on the top, and it curves round, goes across the front of the window in the front of the cartridge where it interlocks with the camera itself, and is taken up by the take-up reel on the bottom, which is turned to tighten it all up and wind it on. In the camera, if I pull out, this is my Minolta XL250, which you may have seen in the previous video. It's my test camera. And as you can see, here's my Raspberry Pi cartridge, again in a previous video. And the roll of Agfa colour clicks into it like so. I think these appeared in about 1965. I think previously you had double 8, which was actually physical reels, and you had to sort of reel it in yourself. So if I put that on one side, there was a competing film standard, which you won't see anymore to now because they're not manufactured. And that was this. This is a Fuji single 8 camera. Now, single 8, instead of having one reel on top of the other, if I turn it over, open it up, has a cartridge with two reels. Let me think. Yes, one there which is full of unexposed film, and the film gate, instead of being built into the cartridge, is a hinged gate, metal gate in the camera. And here is the take-up reel. So if I turn this one on, as you can see, the take-up reel winds to wind up the film onto the take-up reel, and that reel would just be pulled through, and the little hook for the next to the shutter will be pulling through one by one. Now, single 8 and Super 8, they share the same film format, so the film is the same width and has the same sprocket holes, but the film stock itself for single 8, it was thinner than Super 8. So the reel size was smaller than Super 8, but you had the same amount of time on a reel. Now, I may be wrong on this one, but as far as I'm aware, the only people who made single 8 were Fuji. Now, devotees of single 8 will tell you it's far better than Super 8, probably because of this metal film gate. It's analogous to the arguments in the 1980s between Betamax and VHS as to which one was better. Betamax had a higher quality tape transport and a higher bandwidth, but let's face it, VHS won the market. Obviously, because they were the only manufacturer, there's a limited market for single 8 films, and there's only one manufacturer making the films, and that was Fuji. And Fuji stopped making single 8 films somewhere around 2010. Various different sources online dispute exactly when, but it's getting on for 15 years ago, which means that there are a lot of cameras like these which are highly valued by enthusiasts, and in particular, this is just a home movie camera, but in particular, there were some very high quality ones which were used by cinematographers even, and there's no film for them. There have been one or two very specialist companies have reeled Super 8 film onto single 8 cartridges and sold them at very high prices. So you actually get less footage of film using Super 8 stock than you did with the original single 8 stock. But you cannot get cartridges for single 8 cameras. Now, along I come, and I developed this interest in 8mm movie cameras, and I think it's a shame that you can't get a single 8 film cartridge. So I set out to do something about it. I fired up my favourite CAD package, OpenSCAD. I brought out my vernier calipers and I measured the inside of more than one Fuji single 8 camera, and I came up with this. This is my best shot so far at a single 8 film cartridge. Hang on, I will just get the reel I've made for it. I have made more than one reel, but for illustrative purposes I'm using just one in this. This is not quite right. I have more work to do. I have to improve my CAD model. I have a long-standing arrangement, a appointment really, to go and see the Super 8 lab in Den Haag in the Netherlands to actually get my hands on some real single 8 cartridges, which I can measure and do a much better job. The trouble is, those of you who've watched my videos will know that I'm part of a small non-profit called Trans Rescue. It's got very, very busy for us over the last month or two, or week, about last 6 weeks or so, because we're dealing with a crisis in Uganda. So I just haven't had time, and I promise I will do this because I really want to put this project to its conclusion. But the idea is that I'm going to make a single 8 cartridge that slots into a single 8 camera. And the idea is it's something that can be filled, obviously in appropriate darkroom, with Super 8 stock. Now, it's not perfect. It's not a real single 8 cartridge. A real single 8 cartridge would have, I believe, 15 meters of film. Enthusiasts will have to correct me on that. And because this is a thicker film stock, this one will get less footage of the cartridge, but it still will allow people to shoot using their single 8 cameras. It's got a way to go. I'm showing you the first prototype that I'm happy to show to the world. There'll be various other prototypes which for various reasons didn't fit. There are still some problems to solve, not least that the peg that locates with the top of the cartridge isn't quite the right size. I've messed up there. Oh, actually no, it does go together, but also I've got a slight height problem. I can't actually close the door properly on this cartridge. This is something I will be able to fix. It's a measurement issue. If I can get the lid off in one piece. There we go. Oh, ping it off into the distance, why not? So what's next? Follow up on that appointment to go to Den Haag next time I'm on the road, and actually get my hands on some real spent single 8 cartridges and measure them properly. And then with luck, I will be able to make a much better CAD model of the cartridge, and then I can then print out cartridges that can actually be loaded with real film as prototypes and basically used to shoot with a single 8 camera, which is something that hasn't been done much for a very long time. There are a few features of a single 8 cartridge. Oh, I've got this stuck on my, there we are, that's my CAD. I've probably measured that a little too carefully and should have put a little bit of tolerance in because it's a very tight fit on there. A few things which I've got to solve, not least, if you look at those there, those little protrusions, they select the film speed. So each protrusion is a different film speed, and the cartridge would have an appropriate plastic slot which would press down the little protrusion for the different film speed. There is also an arrangement where in the spec for single 8 where there are tabs on the front of the cartridge. I haven't, from pictures I've seen of real single 8 cartridges, I haven't seen one that had those, but they all seem to have this. Now what I have to get around is figuring out, I've just left a slot there so it doesn't touch any of those buttons, but I have to figure out which film speed I want to design my cartridge for. I could actually design several different cartridges with the different protrusions. So that's really a case of looking at the spec and getting the right angle for the right tab. What else is there? The real single 8 cartridge clips together because it's a mass-produced item that's designed to be disposable. This isn't designed to be disposable because this is designed to be reusable. So I've designed it from an engineer's perspective slightly differently. Those are plastic standoffs, and in them I am going to put brass inserts to take screw threads. And if I put the top on, you will actually have 3 screws on top. Now, the final version will also have a skirt going around the edge for light tightness. So this is not the final version. But the idea is you will drop it in there with your film and you will do up those 3 screws. Now, what I suggest you do when it comes time to develop it is you put a stout elastic band around it to keep it together so it doesn't leak light. Then you undo the 3 screws in the light. Then you take it into the darkroom, remove the elastic band and take out your film and do whatever you need to develop it. Now, I'm not in the film developing business. This is why I have to talk to somebody who is to find out exactly what's practical. This is me as an engineer saying this is how I would design one of these cartridges, but that's not to say that it's the right way to design one of these cartridges. Anyway, this is a project that's been going on for a little while, just like the Digital Super 8 cartridge. It's just like the Digital Super 8 cartridge. It hasn't quite reached fruition yet, but it will. I'm going to get here with this. I'm not sure whether there is a huge demand for resurrecting single 8 as a format, but I think it's worth the effort because these single 8 cameras are beautifully designed and made. They are really nice cameras. I have several of them now. If you read Hackaday, in fact you search hackaday.com, you'll probably find I did a teardown on an earlier one, I think a late 1960s one, a while back, basically to show how it went together and how it worked. So watch this space. It has to fit around all the other projects I do, fit around my writing and fit around, as I say, Trends Rescue dealing in Uganda at the moment. But give it some time, and I hope that I will have workable single 8 film cartridges, which is going to be kind of cool. It's funny because my whole interest in these started with the digital and started with making the digital cartridge, which I'm working on and I'm still continuing. I just want the 8mm look from the authentic lenses. But it spread into resurrecting the original film. I don't know how much film I'm going to shoot, to be honest. I've never shot 8mm film. I suppose if I make some cartridges, I really ought to do it. Give it a try. I may find myself a complete convert. Who knows? Anyway, that is my resurrection of a... Hang on, right way up. That is my resurrection of a single 8mm movie camera cartridge. It's not ready, it's still in the prototype stage, but one day I hope that I will have resurrected an obsolete film format. I don't have a sponsor for my videos, but as before, I'd like to take this moment to talk about something else I'm involved with away from my career writing about tech. I am a board member of a small non-profit called Trans Rescue. We get trans people like me out of dodgy and dangerous places around the world. I'd like you to go to our website, read our blog and see what we're up to, and if you can, help us in our work. Thanks very much, and thank you for watching this video.